Our next presentation is called The Semantic Registry, a collaborative approach to semantic models. I'd like to welcome to the stage Claudio Baldassarre, who is Semantic Architect for SEMIC and the European Commission's Digital Services Department.
Thank you. The previous presentation actually allows me to connect my presentations pretty neatly. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to introduce to you the concept of semantic registries, which we are developing at SEMIC. SEMIC is a long-standing action, actually started in 2009. The main purpose of SEMIC is to promote semantic interoperability, and it does so by producing a number of resources that for most cases are preparatory for semantic interoperability, in the sense that it creates a fertile grounds from which semantic interoperability can emerge. I use a lot the term emerging because, in my opinion, semantic interoperability is a property of a system that can emerge from a coordinated effort of consistent choices. And we are talking about design choices. And it's less a feature that you can design into the system. And it's clear because there is not one system, and the number of systems will still grow in time. So if we tackle semantic interoperability as a property, then we can see it emerge. But we have to, again, coordinate the efforts and allow for coherent and consistent design choices. And this is what the semantic registry has been conceived for. You will understand that for reaching semantic interoperability, it means that I, as a knowledge modeler, and I want to make a choice of reuse a model that exists based on hard evidence of how that choice will make me more interoperable. And then this is the first step for the semantic registry to record a critical mass of this evidence. And we do so searching in many sectors, which you can see here listed: some health, business, employment, tax, mobility, and so on and so forth. And we collect this evidence to answer one question, which is, which among these models that are available will make my service, let's say, more interoperable, or will make my institution more interoperable, my function more interoperable with the other ones. So it's clear that choosing one model among the many is not enough. I need to have evidence that these models makes me more interoperable with a target institution, or makes me more interoperable within a certain sector. And not only that, the model that I'm choosing, I need it to be from authoritative sources. Now, if a large amount of people working on a critical mass of evidences recurrently start making this choice, we will measure a convergence of design and convergence of adoption, which are two critical factors on which the semantic registry really counts on, as built on. Convergence of design is when many people continuously and consistently decide to model an entity or a group of entities in the same way, or said in another way, they recognize that there is one option that will make them more interoperable, and they keep choosing that. Convergence of adoption is when there is a lot of data sets that are confirming that design choice is in fact is a good choice. And here comes again semantic interoperability as a movement as a convergence point. I think it's easily tackled than if we decide to make it a design decision upfront. In terms of upfront, the Semantic Registry, together with many other resources like the Core Vocabularies that SEMIC produces, are a way to tackle semantic interoperability in the early stage, and less relying on an heavy effort of mapping downstream, let's say. So it's to reduce that in order to have better results tackling at the beginning. So what would happen today if, say, someone in some public office is tasked to design a data model for a new service? A diligent modeler will go out there and search what are the options available, and you will have to browse through different portals that are authoritative. You have to learn about it, and then he has to start to make a choice. Now, this process can happen through a web interface, but sometimes, as we have seen from the previous presentation, you want something which is more friendlier, let's say, for lack of better words at the moment, and it is more programmatic and more systematic. But if you do that, you need to provide, as part of the set of data that has been shown, evidence that of reuse. Who is the source? Who is the authoritative source? What other institutions are adopting the same vocabularies that I've found? So really hard evidence that will help me choose, will direct my decision with the idea of increasing interoperability and targeting interoperability. Now, with the Semantic Registry, we are thinking to list all of the list and select authoritative sources, and from these sources make an exercise of collecting the metadata, which are the hard evidence, and then offering this to, for instance, consumer application like the chatbot we had seen before, or any other consumer application that is that knowledge modelers or knowledge workers can use. And what will they find if they use the Semantic Registry? Well, they will find that a certain vocabularies is in production in a certain domain, in a certain institution, and if this institution is in a country in which with which they want to be interoperable, say Portugal is developing a new digital service in the domain of pension, and they want to improve the interoperability with Italy, they need to have this as evidence rather than making an arbitrary choice on what is the best way to describe a person. They will want to know what are the relationship and dependency with other vocabularies. Like, for instance, is this one that I'm selecting, implementing core vocabularies, for instance. This has to be data points. So how do we think of then promoting or prioritizing a vocabulary with respect to another? By simply say, at least at this stage, counting how many imports how many dependencies does a vocabulary have with well-known other authoritative vocabularies, and those vocabularies, with what else are they connected? Yes, or how many references does this vocabulary have of concepts or properties that make it more central? I mean, all of this is not rocket science, in the sense it's only applying good design decision and making those available in a modeling process. We have imagined how this could look like visually, so that all of what I said, if we had to be accessed through a web interface, it will look a little bit like this. For each vocabulary, you will have different views with different tabs. Let's say, if you speak from a graphic points of view. So you will have an overview which will tell you this is a version X, has been last updated at this state, and then it starts the important stuff. So who is the authority behind it? Who is maintaining it? Because this can all be target of requirements which can be really much expressed at the beginning. Like, for example, I want a vocabulary in the domain of employment that is in production by the French Employment Office, and that is relying on the fact that they import core person, core organization. Well, this is complete different ways into initiate a modeling, the description of a modeling exercise. Because, as we all know, when you have modeling exercise, you go through competency questions. But then you can add the requirements of semantic interoperability. And if you can express them explicitly by pointing at vocabulary, pointing at production status, pointing at administrations, that will make life much easier, or at least reach that convergence effect based on evidence. The Semantic Registry is an ongoing work at SEMIC, as I said. We went through an initial feasibility and scalability analysis where we wanted to assess how much this work of collecting metadata is possible. We have obviously an internal model which we use to represent all of those hard evidence that I talked about. We developed also a front end based on that mockups that I've shown you before. And because this is an effort that we are doing in order to provide access, programmatic access, from API to MCPs, where we want to aggregate a critical mass of users that consistently start making this choice, and this choice will enter into the vocabularies that will be published, right? So it has a direct effect, and the more they do this choice, the more we re-harvest those repositories, and we will bring up even more evidence. So again, this semantic interoperability is going to emerge, right, as a property. So we had the first experience of building Harvester, and we are going to enter into a pilot where we are going to test this with actual institution that will already connect with a few of you, which we're going to ask to provide this and work with to provide this evidence. And this is call for action. We are not only looking for authoritative sources to take part to the semantic registry, but also to individuals that are interested in testing. For instance, the application, consumer application I've seen before, and see where all of this will take us. So please scan the QR code, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Claudio. So, first, checking here in the room. Do we have any questions here in the room live for Claudio? No. So we'll go to Slido. So, first question. The Semantic Registry reminds me of LinkedIn Open Vocabularies, LOV, or BioPortal. Do you consider reusing parts of their architecture or workflow?
Yeah, linked open vocabulary is actually an effort that's stemmed at the publication office, and what we are reusing is their internal model where they express the dependencies that each vocabulary, how they calculate dependency of each vocabularies have inside their repository. The difference is that LOV is it's also a repository of those models. We are only going to take store what we are called hard evidence, and so we are a registry in that sense, but also LOV, Bartok, and any other collections like that do not offer information of the status of production, what administration is using what, which is in our case is crucial to make semantic interoperability cross-border an actual success.
Okay, great. Next question. One important step in the development of the register has to do with the efforts to support and collaborate with the providers, the authoritative sources, and also the users. Do you already have plans on how to manage or facilitate that collaboration?
Yeah, obviously we'll try and minimize the effort, but we also try and sell them the registry as a tool that can work internally to promote a consistent use of their own schemas. I mean, we don't have, when I interact with the national administration, they tell me they also have sub-levels. Like we have, at the union, we have our first sub-level is the countries, they have the regions, for instance. And they have processes when they have to design a new public service, like Italy, for instance, they told me, they will meet with the responsible for the digital public service, they will collect requirements, and then they themselves, because they know the catalog of schemas they have, will propose what is the schema that is coherent with what already exists. They don't leave these people to make their own schema. So by selling, by luring in this selling point, we hope that this collaboration can be of a mutual effort. Of course, at the very beginning, to run this off, to spin this off, we're going to try and absorb most of that work. But hopefully, people will start look for us rather than we're going to chase them.
Yeah. Next question. You mentioned different metrics that displayed the use of different semantics artifacts in different initiatives in different countries, etc., and pushed it in a front end. How do you ensure the metrics are pushed in a trusted way and are verifiable?
They are very deterministic. Let's say if you take an ontology, you can essentially count the imports, you can register those inputs, you can count the foreign namespaces. So it is transparent and trusted in a way that you take back that file, you can verify these are there. For modules that are not in RDF, that's something that will probably have to do with the governance and with the provenance of those models from a trusted sources.
Okay, and the final question comes with a compliment. It says, looks amazing. Should it not be a feature integrated in the current EU vocabularies sites?
Yes, and we that's in our plan, let's say. That's in our plan, and we wanted to sell on this concept because, in my opinion, after almost 20 years working in this field, I think this is a crucial step to make this data available and make an informed decision, like everybody wants to make a data-driven decision.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Claudio, for your presentation.